Winter 2021 had a huge impact on anime as a whole, especially making it become more mainstream. Now, if that's a bad or good thing, we won't get into today. But one blatant fact is that more people are buying manga than ever. And for those new readers being used to reading from left to right, manga is read from right to left with many other rules. Today, I'm going to tell you how to read your favorite manga correctly so you don't look like a total idiot and it's actually enjoyable to read. As always, if you like this video, then make sure to click those little clickable subscribe and like buttons that are always waiting to be pressed. That's it for me, and enjoy the video. To begin, we have this little chart. Now, this might look simple, but I'll make it even more simple for you to understand. As you can see, it starts off 1 from the right, 2, then it goes down a row, 3, then it goes to the little boxes, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, this is pretty straightforward, and you're probably like, why do you need to explain this? But yes, this is because it goes right to left. Now, the only part where I could see you'll be a little bit confused about is a 4 and 5. After that big row of 3, you will go down to 4 and 5 because it's the first one underneath it. It's just like reading a book. When you're reading left to right, you don't skip a line and then go down to the next one. You always go down to the one right underneath it. So that's where you go 4, 5 because they're next to each other. 6, 7. One thing I always like to do whenever I'm confused is if you see 4 and 5, you're like, wait a second, do I read 4 and then go to 6? No, you don't do that because if you look at 6, that long box takes up the whole space, or it goes practically around the width of 4 and 5. So that's how I say you remember it. But again, always start with the little boxes, and if it's like that, go down, and then finally go over to the left. Here's another simple graph. Again, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, as you can see. But then, here's the problem where many people mess up on. After 5, you see 6 and 7. Many people would go 6 and then 8. Now, this is not the case because I think the best way to describe it is if there's 2 images or 2 panels right next to each other, just go straight right to left if they're right next to each other. But in this case, they are right next to each other. So again, you would go right to left, but then you would go 8 because you have to apply the same rule of top to bottom. As an example, we can use the first page from Demon Slayer. You probably already know that you would start with panel number 1 and then 2. Now, you would not go 2 to the next panel to the left. You would go 2, 3, or the panel right underneath it, because it's the same rule, top to bottom, when they're inside the same row. So when they're inside the same row, just go along with it, either top to bottom or right to left. It should be pretty self-explanatory when you're reading. After you go 2, 3, then you can finally go over left to your big brother or 4. Here's a very simple one. All you do is go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This one is straightforward. Again, right, left, top, bottom. Those rules will just make you glide through these pages. Now, this one might look a little hard, but as long as you use the 2 rules that I explained, you should be fine. You start with Our Life Isn't Easy, or 1, because it's on the complete right, and it practically at the top of the page. Then you go to 2, 3, 4, because those things use a top to bottom rule. And as you can see, those things are practically inside the same line, even though they are separated panels. So you read them just down. And also, this one's pretty easy because there's no picture to the left of it. But again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, the one at the bottom. Now we have a panel from Naruto. This one should also be pretty easy. But again, right to left, top to bottom. You would start with 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7, because again, 6 and 7 are inside the same row, or they're practically straight from each other. So that's why you go top to bottom, 6, 7, and then, Naruto on 8. Here's our last example. And I'm showing this because it has that big picture in the background. You would start with the big picture in the background, then use a top to bottom rule to go the pictures that are taking up the background. So it would go 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6. Again, this one should be fairly simple, but I just wanted to put it in there just in case you're confused. Here's an example that we're going to be using as a quiz. Pause the video here and try and scout out what you think would be the order of this. Now that you have that done, it would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It would be 2, 3, 4 because of the top to bottom rule. And I know I've been saying this so much, but again, this is very important to understand. And it's very important to understand that there's practically 2 rules that will practically get you through reading manga. The right to left rule and the top to bottom rule. And not to mention that, again, if there's specific panels or separate panels inside a row, then you should read them in a row with one of those rules. Overall, the more manga you read, the better you'll get at it. So as long as you just keep on reading and keep on practicing, you'll be reading it like it's a regular book. I hope this helped you, and I hope to see you in the next one.